Good evening and welcome to the Joust. My name is Naggy. I'm here once again with my co-host Liam McNeil. Now, Liam, very important to remind yourself and remind everyone at this point of the year. Everyone's quite ill.
Yep.
Everyone's sick. It's cold. But it's easy to forget about the things that you appreciate in life. Liam, what are you grateful for this week?
Gratitude is very important in this day and age, this modern world. We're all so cynical. We all, have various hatreds and hang-ups, and we dwell. And we're
Traffic's terrible. Yeah,
oh my God, trying to find a park.
Oh, absolutely.
Anywhere you go. But this week, I've been thinking about this. I'm grateful for Lego.
Lego.
I don't know if you're a Lego fan. I grew up with Lego. I think it's wonderful. Absolutely a joy to create. And so I'm grateful for Lego and their amazing quality control.
Because you can have old Lego.
You can.
And then new Lego just slots right in.
Yeah, it's quality controlled and created so perfectly that you can take Lego from all different eras and put it all together and it would still work.
What is it? It's Danish? Is it Swedish? It's European.
Definitely Nordic.
It's
European. It's not Australian. I know that. I know that. So I don't like that about it.
Duplo, was that a different company?
That was baby Lego.
Well, I was a baby at one stage.
It was Lego for the dumb people.
Yeah. I tell you this now. At one stage in my life, I was a lot younger, and I appreciated Duplo at one stage. And then I, progressed into Lego.
And then you had Connects, which was for the, the more, I suppose, engineering-minded of all. But I'll tell you one thing I'm not grateful for, Naggy, is people who refer to pieces of Lego as Legos.
Legos.
They are not Legos. They are pieces of Lego. Lego is a collective noun for, the concept. So you don't have Legos. You have pieces of Lego.
Pieces of pasta.
Legos, they make a great they make a great pasta sauce as well.
Yes, Legos make pasta sauce, of course. Yeah,
Not Nordic, they're Italian, I believe.
Italian,
yeah.
It's all European.
Yeah. My only thing as well is another thing that I'm not grateful for is the price of Lego. This cost of living crisis in this day and age, in this economy.
Have you tried to purchase Lego recently?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, I was in West Edmonton Mall, which is the largest shopping mall on earth, and I went to Lego shop there, and it was heaven. I was in heaven.
I remember
it was great, and I bought a small plane.
Legos young, and there was like sort of more guns. It was more, and then I don't think there was more guns.
There was certain.
It was big on pirates at the time when I liked Lego.
Yeah, I was more a castle guy. I loved the castle Lego. Space Lego was great. There was also some questionable ethnic representation in Lego. There was
again Europeans.
They had certain country western themed sets that you maybe wouldn't put out. They had some with the pirate sets. They had the villains in the pirate sets.
And I think it was like cowboys and Indians at one stage. And of course,
you can't do any more for good reason.
Probably can't do
but
that.
But at the time, for the people in Northern Europe, they'd never met a non-white, so it was fine to buy them.
It felt like it was combative when I was young. I'd be like, this would be against this, and it was a castle, and you had people storming the castle. But now it seems like this is more like The Sims, where it's just like this is a community.
Yeah, I don't like that about it. I like the combative nature of it. I like building a castle, building another castle, and then just beating the shit out of each other.
Going bang, cannons fire. Actually, I swear you could load something in the cannon.
You could load the cannon, you could shoot the cannon. Bang, it was great.
Do you remember also there was also like a big play castle that you could get that a lot of children had? It was much bigger than Lego, but it was like set up, there would be like a trapdoor.
Yes.
And then they also had
They were for the rich
cannon.
kids.
Yeah, the rich kids, of course. Yeah.
The rich kids had those ones.
Yeah, I was there playing with Duplo at the age of 12.
Now, before we continue, Naggy, I do also have to offer an official retraction.
Yes.
Obviously, we at the JRC, we love mums. We respect our mums greatly. And my mum called me out on something I mentioned last week. It was, in fact, a real piece of the Berlin Wall I had in my room. Oh, yeah. Now, I mentioned the timeline not lining up. My parents were living in Valor Beach and me being born, so they weren't in Germany.
Definitely not in Berlin.
Definitely not in Berlin. Yeah. There was an exchange student who came to visit who was from there, and he brought the piece with him. So thank you, Mum, for correcting me on that, and my apologies.
Was he from East or West Berlin?
I don't know. I was 0 years old. I never met the man.
So when the wall's coming down, you got equal opportunity there, I suppose.
Exactly.
It was very... I'll tell you one thing about the Germans at that stage, they were fair.
Naughty piggies.
Naughty piggies.
See, if the wall had been built out of Lego, it would have been very easy to disassemble. They wouldn't have needed the pickaxes. They would have needed
all the tools
to crash cars into it.
Yeah, they're going to give it a piece to everyone. Yeah, and say this is my piece, and then you find another piece and you slot it in together, and then you become friends, East and West. That's what they should have done. Again, Europeans.
Yep.
Liam, on Sunday, the game against Penrith, you were there at the Wickham Park Hotel.
Look, when you have a day like Sunday was, beautiful sunny day. Where do you want to be on a sunny day when there's football playing? I'll tell you where I want to be, in a beer garden. I'll tell you where that best beer garden is, the Wickham Park Hotel.
Yeah.
Joust burger looked great on the menu.
What'd you go for?
But it was Sunday.
Yeah.
I wanted a Sunday roast, and they accommodated. They had a beautiful pork shoulder.
How was the gravy? I know you're a gravy fan.
Fantastic. I'm a huge fan of Paul Kelly and all of his finest works, but obviously his gravy recipe is untouchable rather. Add flour, salt, little red wine, dollop of tomato sauce for sweetness and the extra tang. And it was brilliant. I really enjoyed my day there. And they were very accommodating. Steve and Tristan knew. I let them know there was a bodyboarding comp. We wanted to watch some of the fellas, avid fans of the show with us. So we had the bodyboarding on one screen, we had the footy on the other screen, beers in our hand, roast pork in my belly.
Where was the bodyboarding comp held at?
Shark Island.
That seems like that's a dangerous place to have a bodyboarding comp.
Well, you'd think so, but the like air of danger.
Like a buffet for the sharks, because they're not even standing on the boards. And the sharks will be like, "I got to knock him off first." Your legs are dangling in, and you basically your arms are in. Everything's in.
Life's more fun when there's an element of danger, and also it's a very dangerous wave. It breaks onto dry reef. So you can die in many ways in this competition. It's really enjoyable. But I think, it's the same with rugby league. Rugby league's better when there's violent assaults on the field because there's a sense of danger, a sense of dread.
I suppose it's always a bit dangerous when you leave the home, especially when you go in the water,
especially in this economy. But the cost of living crisis, leaving the home is it's a monumental, gargantuan threat.
Living on an island, of course, you don't want to be like, there's a tragedy. This person died and he was eaten by a shark. Where did this happen? It happened on Shark Island.
Yeah,
and you'd be like, well, maybe you should have been more prepared.
Yeah.
Maybe you should have been standing up on the bodyboard, making it a surfboard. That's maybe how surfing was created. Liam, it's time that everyone's talking about stuff for the news.
Great news, no shark attacks.
No shark attacks, which is fantastic.
As far as we know.
We're going to rule that out for now, but the chances of one happening again is almost certain, just like anyone having a fall. If you have a fall, it's really embarrassing, it hurts a lot, but it's bound to happen again in your lifetime. Game 2 of State of Origin, Liam, is coming up so very quickly.
The juiciest of games. I tend to find Game 2 is always the juiciest.
Well, it is. Game 1's more of like a feel a game, what's working, what's not. Game 2 is where the action is, because the series is now on the line.
We always refer to Game 3 as a decider, but Game 2 in and of itself is a decider.
We've got 2 deciders.
2 deciders for the price of 1.
How have they managed that?
Yeah.
It's down there in Melbourne on the 26th of June.
Don't like that.
Winter solstice is on the 21st of June.
Which I love. I love that in other countries around the world, they celebrate the seasons properly. The season changes on the solstice.
Right.
In Australia, it was like,
month.
First of the month. Yep, first of the month.
So
winter officially begins on the 21st of June.
Yeah.
Right, 1st of June. Every year. Let's keep it the same. So it's simple.
Up the north, they do the on the day.
I think everywhere else in the world, they go by the solstice. Not us.
Right. So we have 21 days of not quite yet winter, but we say it's winter.
Yep.
Right. Good to know.
And then I think we make it up at the end of summer where we get 21 extra days of summer.
Oh yeah, it feels like a long summer in Australia because it's very hot here.
And it is a long summer. I love it. It's great.
So we will about Australia. Quite hot most of the time. But the change is nice. Madge Maguire, Liam.
Speaking of hot people.
Yeah, hot. Not him, probably not one of them. But he's hot under the collar at the moment.
Yes, and rightly so.
Yeah, because he's made a few changes. He's got the old Sharpie out and he's gone...
Done the scribbles.
Yeah, and then he's gone, can you get that off? And you have to check and you go, yeah, I can. And then he can make more changes because there's nothing worse when you're writing on any sort of surface and you go, hang on a second, I've just written all this as a permanent marker.
I hope it was a red Sharpie too. It just feels more satisfying cutting someone, crossing something off the list if it's a red Sharpie.
Your cut. There's certainly been some cuts, Liam. James Tedesco is the first one, former captain, the someone that was called into the side for game 1. The saviour, you thought possibly it might have been a redemption/revenge game for James.
I did think it was going to be a redemption/revenge game, but he was fine. He was fine. I really expected him to come in and take the game by the scruff and say, Madge, I'm your number one. Yeah. I'm the number one.
I'm your one.
But he didn't. He just said, I'm a one.
I'm
one of the ones. But I'm not the one.
I'm not the one.
No.
We are one, but we're not the one.
but yeah, he was fine.
James Tedesco, of course, morphing into Paul Gallen there.
I feel like we all morph into Paul Gallen as we age.
As we age, we're all a little bit more Gallen. Of course, James Tedesco, once you're a New South Wales captain for long enough, you morph into Paul Gallen. Yeah. That's what happens. And then you have a boxing career post NRL, and then you lose a few teeth, and you're a little bit slower off the mark, but you get a sort of appreciation.
Yeah, but it is good to see Dylan Edwards retaining the spot that he earned so earnestly. He earned it, and as we've discussed before, as a Group 2 boy, I do love to see Group 2 players succeeding. Was
Bellingen
Dorrigo Magpies that played for.
Yeah.
Not a very good footy club.
No, I think you say not a very good footy player.
No, he was a great footy player. They just kind of sucked.
Yeah. Do you think he will be fit in well in the Blues side now? It's been
he'll
built
do
up
wonderfully. He'll do wonderfully.
So high tension. He's obviously Clive Churchill medalist. He's played in a lot of big games.
And for so long, he was the most underrated player in the comp. And then he's just appropriately rated. He's very, very good. Usually they cross that line from underrated and then immediately overrated. But all of a sudden, everyone's like, Dylan Edwards is really good. And they're like, oh, yeah.
He's just rated.
That's an appropriate rating. He's absolutely nailed it.
There's no conversation around it. He's just been rated appropriately.
So I was surprised. I did think that Mr. Tedesco would retain his role, but happy to see him bugger off.
Yeah. Sorry, I looked at my watch there because I got a Garmin and all the messages and emails come through on my watch. Fancy boy.
Fancy boy.
I tell you
Look at you getting messages from loved ones.
I know. It's not just time I look at, but it's messages. Sometimes it's bills, and it's not very nice. It's probably just Optus saying my phone's about to be cut off. We got speaking of men turning into things, we've got Cameron McInnes slowly turning into Mary Shelley's Frankenstein and becoming slightly more deformed each time he goes into battle.
I'll tell you what the dumbest smart thing is. People who think they're incredibly smart when they point out that, but Frankenstein was the doctor.
Frankenstein monster.
The monster was Frankenstein's monster.
Yeah.
That wasn't the doctor.
It doesn't really matter, does it? In the end.
That's what not very smart people say to sound smart.
Yeah,
it's a good book, though. It's a real good book.
Yeah. Mary, it's a wonderful author.
Frankenstein's monster in the book, he's multilingual. He's very, very clever.
He's just the brain of the doctor.
Yeah, it's a heartbreaking tale. The tale of Victor Frankenstein's monster.
Yeah, that's right. Speaking of
Kenneth Branagh kind of ruined it.
Of course, with the film. It was Robert De Niro. Classic.
Look, Cam McInnes, he did his role.
41 tackles, none missed.
He was selected to go out there and just be ugly.
Yeah.
And he went out there and he was ugly with the best of them.
He was.
Never have I seen a man accomplish being ugly so well on a rugby league field. It's great to see.
He's decided
Origin needs more of it. They should have kept him.
Madge has gone, no more Cameron McInnes. We're moving past that. And this is another big one, Liam, the halfback. Obviously, when you lose by a lot and you've got the game on the line, you possibly have a better halfback there. Is this the end for Nicho Hynes?
Now, that's a really tough one because we've discussed this before, you and I, personally, on and off the show, outside of the show and on the show.
I thought you meant it was before you and I ever discussed anything. This was discussed before you and I.
Exactly. At some point in time, we have discussed this. Yes. But Nicho just seems to, so far in his career, not be wonderful at stepping up in the big moments,
the big
in games, the big shows. He doesn't seem to do particularly well. He's still only young. He's 23, 24, 25,
I think he's old. I think
22, 21,
25 26. He
was
a late bloomer into first grade,
But I'd hate to see for that to be the end of Nicho's career. I think he would have been well served by being paired with the man who has now taken his spot, Mitchell Moses, to have a more controlling, kicking halfback, and then Nicho can just go silly around him.
A flowy six, a six that can run. I do like
a flowy player. So I think the Moses selection is what Madge probably would have gone for if he wasn't injured for game one.
Looking back, having Luai and Hynes, you got flowy in Hynes and more janky in Luai.
Yeah.
Janky and flowy have never gone together.
No.
You got two people that are just one's flowy and one's janky. They don't mix. You need structure.
Yeah.
The structure of Nathan Cleary, and now the understudy of Nathan Cleary, despite being older than
Especially
Nathan Cleary.
if you're talking about them as a halves combination. What did you do on the weekend? I had the old janky flow.
Janky flow, it was terrible. I slept at a funny angle.
I picked it up in a port.
I spent the rest of the time cleaning it off the wall. So we got Mitchell Moses coming in there. Again, another fellow that seems young.
A wise decision.
But he's it's certainly played in big games. He was a grand final not too long ago.
It was game 3 last year he played and did
last
well.
Year, yeah, and I think game 3 the year before also and didn't necessarily do as well, but he has won a game in blue. Very good.
That's good.
That is good.
How many's Nicho won in blue?
None.
Which is bad.
That's bad.
But I'd hate to see again Nicho get the Jared Mullen treatment.
Yeah, the once and
one
never
and
again.
done.
He did have 2 to his name.
Oh, the first one didn't count.
Didn't really count.
Brad Fittler doesn't know what to do about rugby league.
7 minutes.
He said, Nico, be rugby league.
And
How do I do that?
I don't know. Play
So
centre.
that was a bit unfair.
It was a bit unfair. Look, he's still got time in his hands. Obviously, we'll see probably Nathan Cleary get injured again and again with his lower groin. And of course, Mitchell Moses is getting
famously just coming back from a mid-groin.
Yeah. Mitchell it was foot injury, very low,
lowest
groin. The lowest groin. Mitchell Moses, I was going to say, gets older by the day, but as do we all. So
time is a flat circle, Naggy. Yes, it's all linear, and what's the point to any of it?
I do think it's a stronger decision having Mitchell Moses in there rather than Nico Hines.
It makes me more confident.
Yeah, for me too. He's got a versatile game. He likes to run.
Wonderful boot.
Big boot.
He can swing his foot at a steed very effectively.
Yeah, like a golf club.
Yeah.
Then there's more changes. This is, for me, the change that, I was hoping they would be putting this in game 1. I know there's some suspension. They did a lot of time, but then is Latrell Mitchell.
Now, obviously, we were rooting for Bradman, being the big fans of Bradman that we are. But I think we're both in agreement that the Mitchell selection is a very, very good one.
He's the right man for the right job at the right time.
I am such a Latrell defender. I love him. I think the thing that excites me so much as well was what he got 10 in the bin for last week is exactly what I want someone to do in Origin.
Exactly. Running in for your skipper. Not throwing a punch, just giving him the old heave-ho and saying, you've hit the skipper off the ball and you've hit him high. He could be, for all Latrell knows, he could be knocked out.
And he heave-hoed a big man. This wasn't big man on small man. No. He heave-hoed Jordan Ricky.
Oh, yeah.
A large fella.
And I think that's exactly what you'd expect from him in blue. And a lot of people think he has grubby behaviour, but at the same time...
Well, he does.
He does. But I think in the New South Wales Blues, I want a bit of grubby behaviour.
And especially, I love that a man can get sin bin for being the third man in when he's about the 7th or 8th man into that fracas.
He just made the biggest impact of the fracas.
Which I thought was great. So I'm very, very excited to see Latrell back. His Origin record is wonderful.
Flawless.
What's he played in 3 series?
He's played in 3 series. They've won all 3 series that he's played in. This is being a bit fun with the statistics.
There was he and James Roberts. Was that
2018? Yeah.
And then it was he and Tom Trevorvich.
2019. He's only played in 2018, 19, and 2021.
Yeah.
And they're all the series that we've won. He didn't play in all the games, but in every series he's participated in that we've won, and we haven't won one since he has not played. So it's since 2014. We haven't won a series since 2014 without Latrell Mitchell. You can clearly say
what a wonderful stat. That's
a
very good stat.
Again, being a bit fun with the numbers there, but it's true. And speaking, 2021, it was just incredible. 2024, a lot of people say, well, he hasn't been playing well. I disagree.
His return from suspension, he's been excellent.
10 games, 7 tries, a lot of try assists. He's certainly a game breaker. He's got a versatility to him. No Bradman Best. Dylan Edwards.
Crying shame.
Dylan Edwards there, of course, catching the jersey finally.
Well, it was finally thrown to him and he didn't drop it.
It's within the grasp, Liam. I don't want to even say that Dylan Edwards is certain to make his debut because it hasn't played yet, and anything could happen, lower groins and et cetera, et cetera. But Liam, the New South Wales Blues has also made, this is going to be something that we might butt heads over.
Oh, no, we'll disagree, but we won't butt heads.
Has New South Wales gone for a handsome number 14 in Connor Watson?
See, now, it's a bit of a trade-off. We've discussed Cameron McInnes went out there and uglied it up. I think, Michael Maguire said, we gave him the ugly, now we're going to give him the pretty.
The pretty boy.
Joust, you probably know, I have an enormous crush on Connor Watson.
I love friend of the show.
Everything about him. He's a wonderful friend of the show.
Came on in 2019.
We did some work on the round table. I got to stand next to him with no shirt. That was one of the greatest days of my life. Why
wasn't he wearing a shirt?
Oh, because remember they had us on the round table and it was the mining jersey, I think, but he didn't have the jersey with him. So
he just
our friend who was producing the show, our dear friend there, former Knights media manager, brought the jersey down, and Connor just right next to me just ripped his shirt off, and I can't remember anything for about a week after that.
No, okay, we've got of course Craig Wing, famously was the 14 for New South Wales for quite a few years, successful years there.
Would have been much better if his legs worked.
Yeah, we've got a photo of Craig Wing there, and this is what AI does to you, ladies and gentlemen. We've got a close close up there. Both legs are taped together. He seems to have broken his knee.
Well, he's broken 2 of them. There seems to be 4 knees there.
His toe looks bent up.
But now, you think we're going to disagree. What are your thoughts on Connor Watson being selected for the New South Wales State of Origin team, Naggy?
Let me prefix this with I like Connor Watson a lot.
What a man.
I have a big
What a human being.
respect for Connor Watson.
Yeah.
I think he's a lovely guy.
Can we just freeze it on that frame for like 2 or 3 hours and I'll just sit here?
or this one of Craig Wing that we got. Very special. That's what they used to do back in the early noughties.
Yeah.
That's
Remember
what they
Ben
called.
Ross was voted sexiest man in rugby league for a while. Only time a prop's ever been handsome.
I don't think that should have ever happened. Anyway, I'm just putting it out there. But if we...
And then Gordon Tallis beat the shit out of his face.
That's true. No, 3. I just going to say, Liam, like Connor Watson, personally, I don't think he's in the top 4 hookers that New South Wales produced. Bear with me, please.
I'm bearing and I'm kind of agreeing with you.
I also don't believe that he's in the top 4 locks. There's also 3 locks that are playing in the side, in Isaiah Yeo, Jake Javorovich, as well as Cameron Murray, all there, and he's knocked one off in the Cameron McInnes. Anyway, I don't think he's that. They talk about his versatility. God bless him. He has played on a lot of positions, but he hasn't made one of those positions his own in an NRL side. He has hooker. He has taken over Brandon Smith, but I think that is a lot due to circumstance.
Well, do you remember when he was playing for the Knights? Hooker was his best position.
Yeah, but
again, he flitted around between hooker and 5'8" and fullback. Hooker was his best spot.
He had a bit of a Kirk Gidley in a much shorter time span where he was...
Are you saying he should be captain from the bench? Is that what you're saying, Nags? I agree with that.
But I just feel
captain of my heart.
They've been a lot of talks of he's very good out of the ruck, and I think hooker is his best position. But really, if we look on paper, he's not the best Roosters hooker with Brandon Smith there, and for the majority of the season would show that as well. He does have some ability in an NRL's team. I just don't know if that's going to step up to State of Origin. I would love to be proved wrong.
Do you think perhaps that this is sort of an Al Pacino winning an Oscar in Scent of a Woman type thing, you know? When he was at his best, he didn't get the nod.
Yes.
So maybe now it's a bit of we should have had Connor in 5 years ago. Why not put him in now?
I don't necessarily think... Let's just go through...
I heard someone talk about Scent of a Woman today. I've had it in my brain all day, so I need to get that
That's
out.
all right.
I've not seen the film.
Oh, haven't you seen it? It's about a blind man who's ex-military, and then he drives a Ferrari. That's basically the whole story.
That's not at all what I thought it was about. I thought it was about like a fragrance creator.
No, the guy from that plays Robin in both Batman Robin and Batman Forever.
Chris O'Donnell.
Yeah. He's in there as well.
Karate Laundry. Is Karate Laundry in Scent of a Woman?
Yeah, Karate Laundry is in Scent of a Woman. But Connor Watson, they talk about his versatility. Is he big enough to play wing in today's game? Wing. If a winger went down, could he play on the wing?
I hadn't considered that.
Probably not.
No, you don't think?
Is he and then it's like, we'll put the centre out to the wing, but could he play centre? I feel like that's a little bit Damien Cook out in the centre, so he'd look like a bit of a target.
I can understand where you're coming from, Naggy.
And then it's like, God bless you, Connor. We all love you. However, you
Some
have
more
not
than others.
really shown to have a great long kicking game.
And he's played about 3 games in the last 15 years.
He's constantly injured, and I'm really happy to see him get success, but I just don't want him in this particular game when everything's on the line. It would be great if it was game 1, but I just feel like that the cover, this is the air of, he's got a utility factor. Not really. Like, when you've got this fella who was 18th man and Matt Burton, who actually does play 5'8" for his club.
The Burton omission is an odd one. Well, what did he shit in Madge's cornflakes or something? Because he should have been, and again, I say this with all due deference to Connor Watson. I love you with all my heart, Connor. Yeah. I do want to, have a really romantic night with you, but I do think maybe Matt Burton should have been picked ahead of him.
He's there kicking stones. Thank you very much, Sam. And Matt Burton, who has played centre for New South Wales before.
Was he good? Did he play well? I don't recall.
They didn't win that series, but he played
okay. He did get in a fight.
He scored a try at centre.
Yeah, and got in a fight.
Got in a fight with Dan Gagai.
I love when people get in fights. On the confines of rugby league field.
He actually plays, he's the best 5'8" in their team, which is interesting to see. He probably could cover outside back, including wing, probably couldn't play fullback. But again, Connor Watson has only started about 11 games of fullback in his career.
And could Connor Watson kick a Steeden so high that it would take out a window on the International Space Station? I don't think so.
I've never seen Connor kick a ball long. He has a short kicking game, but not a long one.
I've seen Matt Burton kick it high, and I want that in State of Origin.
Matt Burton was...
I would if it was 80 minutes of nothing but pass the ball straight to Matt Burton and watch him just... kick the skin off the bastard. Yeah. I'd be very happy.
It'd be a great day. I just feel like out of those two, and you're talking about versatility, Matt Burton can't play hooker, but if you keep Cameron McInnes in the side, everything works out fine.
There you have it, Joust, as you've witnessed a fiery argument of butting heads. Even when we disagree, we still have a wonderful time.
We still have a wonderful time. That's Madge there with his big old
Give me
round
a call, Connor.
Head. Yeah.
I'm free any night of the week. I'm sorry, Brittany.
Your darling wife. So Madge has made some interesting choices there, but of course we move over to the Queenslanders.
Speaking of interesting decisions, Billy's done some maybe Brad Fittler-esque oddness.
I think this is getting to Billy. If you remember, Brad Fittler won the first two series as well, and everyone
went to his noggin.
Everyone said, "Oh, he's actually a genius," and everyone's walking with no shoes in the grass, and he's put phones in a box, and he's massaging everyone, and I think this is where Billy's going, speaking a bit like a bush poet, and he's making everything that he's touches turn to gold. Yeah. So I think now he's making some interesting choices. And the first one, the biggest sort of surprise is to say, hey, we needed an outside back in game one on the bench because outside backs get knocked out and get taken out of the game often.
With great regularity this season, especially.
7 minutes in, he was proven a genius. He's gone game two and said, you know all that thing about outside backs? Forget it.
And Selwyn, he had a ripper too.
Yeah.
He had a great game. I don't know what he's done.
He said, Selwyn Cobbo, we're not going to select you. Why? We don't know. Why?
Well, no, he said, because he's been playing with injections.
Everyone plays with injections.
Exactly. That's the sport. That's the way it is. Maybe he was using the wrong injections.
Meth. They inject that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But
I don't know. I've never done a drug in my life.
They've got Danga Guy there on 18th man. He might be brought into the side on the bench. Maybe it's a bit of,
Which the most baffling thing about it too is who have they selected as the bench utility to cover the centre and wing position? Kurt Capewell.
Who has played centre in previous games.
That was a long time ago.
Famously in 2021, and he looked like he shouldn't be there.
But then didn't he play 2020 in the worst Origin team of all time possibly, and equipped himself well?
I believe in 2021 he got torn to pieces by I think it was Tom Trbojevic. Just owned him. And he just but that's the person they've chosen to go, like an older back rower who has played some centre, sure at that level, but not
club
well.
Form though. I haven't really seen him play for the Warriors.
He's quite good,
I don't watch much Warriors.
But he's also getting those old manny injuries where groin, lower groin, upper groin, and et cetera, et cetera. This man's coming back in.
He's just one whole groin.
Yeah, only playing 7 minutes of the first game. Reece Walsh. Yeah. He's welcome back. The Wiz.
Who's going to make the sacrifice this game and try and murder him?
Well, Liam, I always think like Reece Walsh has suffered so far this year in the last 8 weeks. A broken cheekbone, which is obviously contact with the head, was head on head. Bang,
the top
bang,
groin.
Bang. The highest groin in the
groin
cheek.
that contains the intellect.
Yes, and the cheeks of the groins. Bang, bang, and then he was out with a broken cheekbone. Didn't fail the HIA at the time, but it was still a very public, massive blow to the head of a player rushing up to try to put pressure on him. Then he was hit illegally by Joseph Swalihi, and then hit directly.
Notably absent from game 2. I wonder why.
And basically it was toe curling as far as the concussion. If we see another big collision with Reece Walsh and that he's concussed HIA, I don't know if we start talking about Kalen Ponga 2022, sit out the rest of the season.
Send him to Canada.
Or send him to Canada.
He can hit the bongs for a couple of months, come back, clear-headed.
Get the noggin checked out. It's just that when Kalen Ponga, a lot of people don't like Kalen Ponga for a host of reasons. Many people.
Give me their addresses.
Half of Newcastle doesn't even like
him. What?
Yeah, well, it's because they get told that he doesn't want to be here, and every time he has a sniff of being like, that was like, Kalen Ponga might sign with the Roosters, everyone says, fuck him off.
Oh, these people are no friends of mine.
No friends of mine.
Not friends of ours. They're not friends of the show. They're not friends of Newcastle.
But that
is the least patriotic thing you could do.
When this happened to a 24-year-old Kalen Ponga, that he was getting hit in the head and he had to sit out the rest of the season, a lot of people applauded and said, well, good riddance, and he might have to retire. This is great. The problem was you had a very young fullback who is an exciting part of the game that got hit in the head enough, and then it was like he might need to retire really early. Very scary. And if any Reece Walsh fan out there thinks that can't happen to him, In the next month, if there's one big head collision, illegal or legal, he might find himself sitting out for the rest of the season.
And I think we have a really good case use here in that I am a great example of what happens when you don't retire after several concussions.
Yeah.
And instead you go to the pub after every game and get pissed anyway.
Yeah, because you had how many concussions in 1 year? 4 at one stage. Yeah,
I think I had 3 in about 8 weeks. Or something.
And you were stood down. Liam, it was.
It was suggested that I stand down, and then
just a quick caveat quickly about the Tigers before we jump into halftime.
Oh yeah.
But Shane Richardson came out and said basically, look, Lachlan Galvin, who was reported by Paul Crawley to say that he's been marching
another
around.
Pillar of integrity when it comes to rugby league journalism.
A full article was written about this, and we lampooned it last week and said it was absolute rubbish. And Lachlan Galvin's come out and said, "I'm not going anywhere."
Yeah.
I wasn't walking around as an 18-year-old saying that I hate the club and I want to be out of here, because no player that would do that in front of senior players, their employer basically. With apparently no club to go to. It was just manufactured from Isaac Moses whispering into Paul Crawley's ear, which is within the wrinkle of the catcher's mitt of the face that he has. And apparently he just gets off scot-free, besides clearly trying to entice Tiger supporters to get rid of Lachlan Galvin and entice the general community to say this is the right thing to do. He should be allowed to go to a much wealthier club.
Naggy, is there any other industry besides the NRL media where you can get so much wrong, never offer an official reaction, never offer an apology, just continuously get shit so wrong and not be fired?
It's probably
been given a national platform to talk his rubbish.
It's probably
never called out on it.
NRL 360 and this show. The two things we can get very, very wrong, publish our work, and then forget that it ever happened. But it's just ridiculous that we talk about the News Corp and whatnot killing the game.
The media shills. That's all they are.
Very quickly, also before
sucking Murdoch's ball bag every day of your life for a pittance.
Sucking the scrotum, they call it. We got that. Our very last item of the news is Mrs. Brown.
Mrs. Brown's buttered chicken. Come back into play. Remember, Robbo famously stole that move, just like the Roosters steal everything from other people.
That's right. Yeah. And
who's Mrs. Brown shoving the buttered chicken down this week, Naggy?
We could be looking at Schuster, Liam. Josh Schuster.
Now, you showed this to me in the pre-show rundown, and I didn't know this at all.
Well, it hasn't been done, but it's still the talks of, we got Jack Cogger at the moment. We'll get into that a little bit later.
Yes.
But is this a chance to put a bit of playmaking ability that's larger, that's a little bit more of a threat, that's younger, that's a
big bump,
exciting,
a fellow with a big bump.
Do you
Plus, Newcastle, if you go to King Edward Park, has some of the best hill running in this country. I remember South's under 17s. We did hill runs there for half a preseason, and I died. It was terrible. I'm no longer alive. Just send him down to King Edward Park. Run up the hill 10 times.
Well, Josh
be the best player in the league.
You'd think if you went from a huge contract to no contract, and the reason was because your fitness was bad, you just would have spent this time getting really, really fit. Yeah. It's not that hard. It's not like going out and getting a PhD.
I don't know. Fitness is really, really hard. I was still worse.
How fat would you have to be? He was fitter than 98% of the population. Surely he can just work a little bit harder and get to a match fitness.
I spent a full decade of my life the least fit man at the Wanderers Rugby Club.
Oh yeah, the beep tests and whatnot.
Terrible. There was a ring of dried vomit around the gym. That was just from me doing laps.
Why didn't they clean it up? We're going to take a halftime break, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll be back for the second half of the Joust.
Pussycat, pussycat, I love you. Yes, I do. Come on, fellas.
Welcome back to the second half of the Joust. I haven't commented on little Kaylin here with the wobbly head, which is a wonderful gift from Mr. Josh Bellico there behind the buttons.
Yeah, we've got Kaylin with the wobbly head. We've got Danny with his little green hat on.
Little green hat.
A wonderful accoutrement we have here on the table.
And of course, Kaylin's got his sore foot still. Always with the sore foot. Elizabeth Frank.
I hate that bitch.
Liam, there was a game on which you watched at the Wickham Park Hotel.
Yes.
And
enjoy.
Enjoy.
Again, when you're at the Wickham Park Hotel sitting in the beer garden watching footy, regardless of the result, you have a good time.
It was against Penrith Panthers, and it was a game. We came against the Storm last week, and that was going to be a tough game. And we played reasonably well, 28 points.
Respectable.
Down there in Melbourne.
It was a respectable loss,
And then we invited the Penrith Panthers, obviously, now 4 grand finals, 3 premierships. It just seems like they are.
I think it was very gracious of us to invite them to play in Newcastle.
I think so,
it was
too.
Nice. It was kind.
We could have easily said, actually, you know what? Don't come. We don't want haven't you? Here?
No, then Gavin would break up with us as friends.
Gavin Morton,
I
of
wouldn't
course.
want to have a life without Gavin in it.
He's a very important member of the Penrith Panthers Newcastle Support Club.
Yes.
And it was deemed to be like a game. Possibly they're going to run over us and batter us around and smack us on the arse and whatnot. But our very own Fletcher Sharp, Liam, 3 minutes in.
Now, many, many years ago, Naggy, the Melbourne Storm, the fullback factory. They pumped out Cam Munster. Then they had Billy Slater. Then Cam Munster.
Yes.
Ben Hampton was in there. Jerome Hughes originally, when he went there from the Titans, was playing at fullback. And Nico came through at fullback. Ryan Pappenhausen came through at fullback. Is the Newcastle Knights Rugby League Club now the richest nursery for fullbacks in maybe the world?
I think it's safe to say yes.
In all of sports.
We're showing them off, Liam. If anything, we're showing them off. We say, look how many we've got.
Yeah.
We've got Kalen, and we said, no one can beat Kalen, but then we said, he's injured, but David Armstrong.
Davey from the Navy came out. No one can beat Davey from the Navy. And now Fletcher Sharp's come out. My God.
And then 3 minutes into the game, or the fourth minute, he was there and scoring a try, showing up Jerome Luai and says, look at this pace. Look at the pace I
Such
have.
pace he showed. Isn't he Pappenhausen-esque?
This is 2 games, 2 tries. David Armstrong was 4 games, 4 tries, and maybe 5 tries even. It was
lots.
It was lots of
It
tries.
wasn't none.
No, it certainly wasn't 0. And we've been short on tries lately. So in front of a packed crowd there, Liam, almost 28,000 people. A few members obviously didn't show up because it was going to be sold out. But however, a full stadium there. On a Sunday.
A wonderful sight to see.
Yeah.
Wonderful sight to see.
And it turned into a bit of a game where we thought, we got off to a good start, and then it was like, hang on a second, no, Panthers.
Here we go again.
They're doing the Penrith thing. They're going to just treat us like absolute
arseholes.
I was going to say bitches, but we would become their bitch if we were in prison. That's what they say. But I think it's also got some connotations of them assaulting us in different ways, which they did.
Non-consensual. We're getting into some very grey territory there.
And then we got into half time, and it was 20 points to 6, Liam. And then right before half time, leaking points again.
Well, that was it. It was that old Brownie curse, bang bang before half time.
Bang bang.
And there you go. See you later.
And it was a time where it was like, we've been getting into grinds with lesser teams, the Tigers and the Titans and things. We're wearing
teams
them out.
Which you can get into a grind with,
but you can't arm wrestle an octopus, Liam. And this is a very old saying, has been said time and time again.
Yeah, you mentioned this before the show. I've never heard this saying. It's a wonderful saying. Could you explain to myself, and the listeners, how you mean this saying in the context of this rugby league?
Well,
game?
I'm a human and I've got 2 arms, and if I was going to arm wrestle, I'd dedicate 1 arm to that. But an octopus has got 8, so really it's a 4-on-1.
That's not fair.
You're always outnumbered.
It's not fair at all.
So at the very least, you could go 2-on-1.
Why did you agree to have this arm wrestle?
It doesn't make any sense.
Why did you invite the octopus around in the first place?
You can't do it, Liam. And that's what the Newcastle Knights were looking like they were falling into. It's like, we're going to try to outgrind them. We're doing good sets, we're completing, but we couldn't beat them doing that. And they were just too good, too well polished. And every mistake that we made, they made us pay. Every mistake that they made, we couldn't capitalise on points.
And you can't outgrind Penrith. They are the grindiest team of the last couple of years. Yeah. They will tear you down. They will pump you into oblivion.
With all 8 arms.
Vigorously, all 8 arms.
Smack you around.
And from even the Mount Druitt, they're probably swinging hammers at you and shit.
Shivs. Yeah. Again, I'm all the prison references. But it was a tough game that we thought, how are the Newcastle Knights going to get on top here? And then we'd have to use the ball. And we had a moment there. We got back within 2 points, scoring in the sort of around the 20-minute mark-ish, 15 to 20-minute mark. We saw Bradman Best really come to life off the back of also Jackson Hastings as well. Jackson Hastings looks like he was willing to try different things. He wasn't going to go down swinging, and a lot of the swings came off hitting.
I think you're going to address this more in your hats off, but you've a lot to say about Jackson Hastings in this game, don't you?
He's an easy, much more line player than Newcastle Knights. It seems like he's one bad performance away from getting the flick.
But he's had a lot of redemption games this year so far. Feels like every couple of weeks he has a down game and then says, "Bug you, I'm not going to do it twice," and he comes back and has a wonderful game the following following week.
Look at a couple of
Why
stats.
can't he just do that every week?
Well, the Knights had a really good completion rate, but not as good as Penrith there. We were 30 from 34. A lot of
There's
less.
high completion footy from both rugby league teams.
44% possession, and for a lot of it, for at least a middle chunk, it felt like we were in the game. Some line breaks there, but we seemed
Thoroughly outstatted.
Outstatted.
My God, we got thoroughly outstatted.
Yeah, you can't again octopus too many arms. Missed tackles was pretty high on both sides. With
Which
40
for
and
Penrith
45.
is rare. For the Knights, you'd expect, but to see
yeah.
Penrith miss that many tackles, well, it's a bit odd.
And keeping it only 7 errors for the game as well. We've been keeping it under 10. Every time we keep the errors under 10, we're in the game. Otherwise, we seem to blow out and we're 15 errors and we're losing, like the game against the Bulldogs. And it seems to be, it was, what did you say, a fait accompli?
Fait accompli.
Yeah. It's always going to happen. Is that what the translation is?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, sure. Let's go with that.
I'm sure it's Latin, French, or one of those garbage
Francaise, yeah.
garbage languages.
Goddamn Europeans, man.
There
Get
was-
them out of here.
There was obviously at
Except
home.
the Lego people. They can stay.
The Lego Europeans can stay, but everyone else can leave. It's a game that we didn't have a lot of possession after the first 10 minutes, and we got into a grind again, conceding tries that looked way too easy for Penrith, and it could have easily been one of those games where it's going to be 50 points to 6 and be like, oh, wasn't it?
I was concerned at one point that was going to happen because that's what we're so used to. You know? As a supporter base, as a city, as a town.
Yes, yeah.
We're used to having things like that happen.
We did see once again the connection between Bradman Best and Greg the Bus, where Greg the Bus passes it, Bradman Best runs to the wing, and he does the short pass and sprints up the field.
Now, is that we've been having some concerns? I think it's safe to say around Greg the Bus and his performances so far this year with the return of Bradman.
Yeah, it seems
like
like
just that combo. It's a very, very good edge combo.
Two stout men doing their best playing football, and I like that. I think they do complement each other.
Powerful.
Yeah, powerful.
Stout and powerful.
Bradman obviously with the pace, and Greg with the sort of robustness of a bus. Yeah. 6 wheels and all. But it was welcome
And we
back.
never worked out how many wheels a bus has.
No, it's a lot. It's certainly a lot. It's definitely more
Otherwise,
than
it'd be a bike.
Greg the Bike doesn't really have the same sound. It doesn't roll off the tongue. It was a welcome back game to Bradman Best, and I tell you what, he gets my hats off this week for a really fantastic performance.
No, he's my hats off.
Oh, you can take it.
Yeah, I'll take it. I'll take it. I think I kind of expected this. You know, Bradman obviously came back with a centre spot at the Blues all of a sudden available, and I think he came out to really prove that he is the man to get that spot. Unfortunately, you have Latrell Mitchell to contend with. So it was never going to happen. But I thought, as far as a return game, as a statement, pre-Origin, he had a blinder. Absolute blinder. He's such a good rugby league thumb.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
He's the thumb. He's like, as all the rugby
Sign him
league
for
thumbs.
life.
He certainly is.
He'll never leave the Newcastle Knights, and I love that about him.
I feel like there's been many years where Bradman's playing and he has a few good games, and it's like, oh, well, he will come good. And Knights, as a team, has often been investing in players that hopefully will come good, and then they don't. Bradman seems to be getting better, evolving his game. I think he's trimmed down in the last 2 seasons, and he looks quick, and he looks.
He's still huge.
Yeah,
even a trimmed down Bradman is
still stout. A stout man is stout no matter how.
A stout yeoman.
No matter how much weight you lose.
Yeah.
But he looks quick. He looks. He's finding his game, and I really think he's going to be a true asset to the Newcastle Knights moving forward. Much like this other. Player.
I'm intrigued to hear your thoughts on this fella.
Hats off for me is Jackson Hastings.
Hats off to reveal that terrible haircut that he got when he was leaving the monastery for a couple of months.
That's right.
I'm having a couple of months off being a monk.
He says, take 2 to 3. Yeah, and he said, all right, but I'll leave. I'm keeping the haircut, he says as he's walking out. And look, often he is, when we're not playing well, everyone says, get rid of him, he's too slow, and he doesn't, he's not a flashy halfback at all. There was actually a little bit of spark. I wouldn't call it a full flash, but it was sparky in his game where, he was kicking to the wing. He tried it last week with Anari, didn't really come off, but he did it with Bradman.
Not a big man.
He puts Dylan Lucas through a nice hole. He seems like the halfback that I think at the moment when we're sort of struggling for form, and he is a structured half that we need, and he's the kind of player that if
he's very much your traditionalist half.
Yes, yeah. He takes the he's a bit of the guy that's an asshole in the team, and but he demands respect.
Yeah,
and if you took that out and you try to pluck someone in that has never played first grade or is very new to first grade, I reckon the whole team would go to water. I think you need someone there shouting, and
every great halfback has to have a bit of arsehole in it.
Yes, I agree.
You have to be a bit of a dick. It's the same with halfbacks in rugby be in here. You have to be a dick.
Yeah.
You have to be really annoying. You have to be small but yell at the big men.
Yes, yeah,
You have to
that's the
poke
kind of
people
thing.
in the bum.
When
That's what you got to do when you're a halfback.
When you've got massive prop forwards that are in their late 20s and you don't want to be like bossed around by someone that's 18 or 19 years old going, you go over there, take another run.
Or a student from the School of Unremarkable Boys.
Exactly right.
You can't be bossing someone around if you're a grade A student of being unremarkable.
And speaking of, Liam, when we take our hats off to a player that does particularly well, we must return our hats to our heads, unfortunately, this week to Jack Cogger, who is a graduate and also the
Founding
member of the Jack Cogger School for Unremarkable
the
Boys.
gold statue of him out the front there with his AI legs.
It just felt like there was moments in the game. I don't think he did there was a few times where he sort of like, I wish he did that better. There was a loose ball on the ground. He wasn't looking at it. It just seemed like there was a few options there which he didn't take advantage of. And when Bradman Best made the break down the side, it got spread out Jack Cogger. There was no one really to go to on his right, and he just sort of canned it upfield. And that's when it was like, if that was another player like Will Price, we possibly would have seen at least him go the line with some pace and challenge. It feels like,
well, does not Bradman Best, does the unremarkable boy himself? Are we still looking at him through the lens of grand final winning Panthers player, Jack Cogger?
Well, at the time, like obviously he had Nathan Cleary to outside, and I think he has a great mind for the game, but I don't think him and Jackson Hastings, I don't think they're a good combination.
They're not complementary.
We've been saying it since pre-season. We said that we don't really know how they will think, but potentially if Jackson Hastings found himself out and we had Jack Cogger and then a 5'8" again that could run and a threat of running.
And we do have one.
Playing
in reserve grade.
So if I think that combination, you'd see a better game from Jack Cogger of just sort of moving the ball around and not being like that pressure, pull the trigger, the guy, he's got the ball in his hands, what's he going to do with it? But he's that guy at the moment, and then it's like, quick go to Jack Cogger, and there's nothing really on, and he's taking the ball down, and that's really slow. He's all round too. Him and Jackson Hastings have no corners to them. They're like
and you got to have corners to play rugby league. How's he going to hurt people?
It's like if you inflated a bunch of balloons and stuffed a jersey over the top. There's just nothing square about them. Anyway, it's Liam, your hatchback on this week was to
an even bigger bunch of balloons.
Daniel Saifidi.
He's got a whole balloon arch under his jersey there. I don't know. The Dan Saifidi
is it time to talk
this
about,
year.
Is it time to talk about Dan?
Is it time to talk about Dan? I think it is. The Dan Saifidi of this year is not the Dan Saifidi that we hoped that Dan Saifidi would be.
Yeah.
I think coming through in the early years, he was always seen as the better of the two Saifidis.
Yep, absolutely.
But I think he's definitely lost that mantle. Jacob's playing some wonderful football. He's doing some very good things.
Yeah.
But it just feels like Dan Saifidi is regressing. And
I think the game got too fast for him.
He's a bit stuck in the mud, I think you said. And to be fair, it was pretty muddy at Marathon Stadium. A lot of people were stuck. But he seemed stuck in the mud more so than others. Not much lateral movement. He wasn't, up and backing very quickly. It's just, someone needs to sit down with Dan and say, Dan, you're big. Just be big.
He rushed up on Jerome Luai, which led to a try. I just feel like he's not getting as good a read in the game as Jacob. And the unfortunate thing when you've got a twin playing, that is when you've got an actual carbon copy of yourself and one person's doing a lot better than you, everyone goes, well, why aren't you doing as good as him?
But that's it. They're the exact same That's what a twin is.
Exactly.
They're the exact same.
It's a clone. Yeah.
Why are they not the same at football?
No,
shouldn't they be the same?
They should be.
That's why we signed them both. We're like, if one's good, the other one has to be good because they do the same thing. They have the same brain.
Yep.
They can read each other's minds. If one's playing good, shouldn't the other one just go, I can think why he's playing. I'll do that.
You'd think so.
I thought that was the whole point.
Whole neural pathways.
Isn't that how it was marketed? That's how it was sold to Brownie. Like you got two.
Two for the price
They do
of
the
one.
same thing until one of them gets in a fight out the front of a green roof and breaks his leg.
And that's been the best thing that's ever happened to Jake was he come back and
it
play
was
some
a bit of a
great
career
football.
renaissance after that, wasn't it?
It's going to be interesting to see how Dan Saifidi gets himself out of this hole because there are times where he scores tries, he looks great, he runs well, but they are not every week.
And you'll remember a lot of the discourse when he was picked for Origin all those years ago. And this again stems from the fact that no one who isn't a Knights fan watches Knights games. There was a lot of, Dan Saifidi doesn't deserve to get picked.
Yeah.
Dan Saifidi shouldn't be in the team. He was playing really well. He warranted his selection with his form. But no one watches Knights games unless they're a Knights fan. So it was like, the Knights aren't coming first. He must be shit.
Just because they're the same player again. And it's like you've got Dan Saifidi selected by the Blues. He goes out there under a bit of pressure, scores a try under the post. Jacob Saifidi says, anything you can do, I can do the exact same thing because I'm the exact same person, and does does the exact same.
I can't do it better. I can't do it worse.
No,
I do it the same.
Do it the same and does the same thing. Scores a try as a prop underneath the post for New South Wales. Incredible. We just wish. I think Jacob's moving in the right direction and possibly going to peak at like in his late 20s, early 30s. Like
which is when all good props do. They're a late blooming position.
I think Dan's got. I don't know if he's got a problem with his knee. It just doesn't seem to be moving.
Well, remember he had that bitch Elizabeth hit him a few years ago with the with the Francis injury.
Ms. Frank.
Ms. Frank.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lizzie. Yeah. I'm going to find her one day.
No, she's right there. There she is. There. So there's Elizabeth Frank.
Dear friend of the show.
And maybe he's never recovered from the bitch slap. We don't have a game this week for the Newcastle Knights. We've got the bye.
What a crying shame. I won't know what to do with myself.
Yeah.
I'll be bored senseless.
Yeah, but it is a good opportunity for us to look sort of...
I think it is a good time to have the bye. After 2 losses against very good teams in what were hard games, facing Melbourne, facing Penrith, those are 2 games where you're going to have the backsides beaten off you, but if not on the scoreboard, physically in the game. I think it's a good time to have the marcus now.
Bit of a review of the season. We've got 6 wins, Liam. There are wins up there on this screen now. Obviously, an early win against the Storm. A good win in the Dragons at home. Then we went
Marathon Monsoon.
Then we went on the 4-game run.
What a handsome run.
There are losses there, and it would have seemed like we really hit the pits when we had 2 losses in a row. One, it was 36-12 against the Dogs, and then the next time we lost round 13 against the Dogs, we didn't score a try, and we think, hang on a second, we could be in trouble. But I think 28 points, losing by only 8 against the Storm was, without backslapping mediocrity.
Yeah.
I definitely
that's what we do best at Newcastle.
A good attempt, and as well, we did it against Penrith again, another 8-point loss.
Now, obviously, there are a lot of listeners. You might be your first time listening to the Joust. You might be new to rugby league. One thing you will notice that the more astute rugby league commentators, opinion givers like us will notice that we have more losses.
More losses than we do
wins. There's less wins and more losses.
Now,
so to those new to the game, that's bad.
Some teams will strive for the opposite and want more win. I know it's groundbreaking.
Again, this is the brownie hangover. We're still suffering from not knowing which is good. What the heck?
We're certainly heading towards problems if we're going to go 9-6 and so on. But if we look at the games moving forwards or backwards or forwards, twirling, always twirling to get us out of this 13th
lucky number
position.
13. 13 is my lucky number.
Is it really?
Probably explains a lot about my life.
14 is my lucky number.
Yeah, right. Good stuff.
I've had terrible luck though. So I don't know, maybe it's treated me poorly.
Yeah.
So we got 3 games coming up before possibly Kalen Ponga and Tyson Gamble come back. Those
now, if you look at those 3 games, Parramatta, Raiders, Seagulls, they're not troubling the top 4. I think those are all winnable games. Manly are an impossible team to tip this year. They're playing such bizarre footy. They're yo-yoing around.
We don't really know.
But Canberra's pretty bad, which is good, so you probably get a win there.
Parramatta Eels, it's going to be interesting to see.
Well, that'll be after Origin, so Mitch Moses likely not to play.
That's going to be the following week of the bye this week.
Bye this week, Origin.
Oh, no, you're right. Sorry, you're correct. I'm incorrect. Which
is a huge thing, because they're struggling injuries-wise as well, especially in the outside backs, Parramatta. They had Dejan Arce, I think, playing the centres the other week when he is not a centre at all and was exposed. So I think it's a good time to be getting Parramatta.
And then we're expecting to get Kalen Ponga back before the bye, but it wouldn't surprise me if they keep him after the bye. But I think out of the next 3 games, we need to be winning 2 of them to keep our season alive.
Yep.
If we can't win 2 of them, I would say that's almost...
Does Kalen Ponga get us, a spot now that we have Fletcher Sharp and Davey from the Navy?
Well, I think Davey from
the best fullback in the world, maybe... Is he the 3rd string fullback at the Newcastle Knights all of a sudden?
Looking for the run home from round 23, then we've got the Tigers, the Sharks, the Bunnies, the Titans, the Dolphins. We possibly can win those games, but we can't do 2023 again and have this big run in. We need about...
Oh, we can.
Well, maybe. I don't know, but it certainly doesn't look like we possibly... I don't know. It depends if we're in the 8 by the time we play the Sharks will lose to us because that's what they do.
And then if we're in the 8 come semi-finals time, again, for those new to the game, if you're in the top 8 at semi-finals time, you play in the finals.
And also the Broncos are on a slide, which is great.
They're having a really, really odd season.
3 losses on the trot. And just moving slightly forward, if we're going to make any changes, Liam, we mentioned David from the Navy possibly on the wing, and as well
again, is he big enough to be a wingman? In this, the way the game is played now,
I think we need pace.
He's a tackle breaker too.
Yeah.
He's deceptively powerful for the smallish man that he is.
What do we have to lose? The same as moving Will Price into 6. What do we
Let's just
possibly
give it
have
a
to
go.
lose?
But then, of course, you've got the Latalo Mokandrecki of it all,
Yeah.
a very lengthy man.
They always say
Kick
that.
the lengthy man.
If you're talking about the entire
Powerful.
Mockandrecki of it all.
That old saying.
But yeah, 6'6", winger. He's very
He's averaging about 4,000 metres a game down there in the knock-on effect cup.
It adds something. If you've got a fast 5'8" that
Yeah.
wants to break the game open, you've got a huge winger. I don't know. It just seems like the right thing to do to bring this attack back. We've got great back rowers. We've got Frizzell.
Well, and I think that'll be a huge difference if Will Price comes into first grade.
Yeah.
He's been having some defensive woes in reserve grade.
Yeah.
But if he comes into first grade, all of a sudden he's playing outside either Tyson Frizzell, Kai Pearce-Paul, or Dylan Lucas.
Yeah.
Which I think would really, really help him in defence.
Really, at a 5'8", just come in and be able to. You've got your back rower and your centre and your wing. And if we've got a bit of pace on the wing, the back rowers are already sorted, and the centres are either Gagai or Best. I'll tell you what, there's some points there. They don't have to do much. They'll probably have to pull the trigger 6 times a game. That's all they have to do. And so if they've got a bit of pace and Davey from the Navy, it's going to be an exciting time.
Is that a worse haircut than Jackson Hastings?
Horrible, David. Horrible. But maybe
they've just got a ruler and cut along the rule.
That's
It's
how
Lloyd,
they
it's
cut-
Lloyd Christmas. That's who that is. That's
That's-
Lloyd Christmas with an extra tooth.
That's how they cut their hair out in the country. That's how they do it. They're not there to muck around. They're not there to style. They're not there to impress anyone. They say,
You go in, they shave, and you go out.
yeah, I need a haircut.
Got stuff to do.
Yeah.
Busy.
It's not really a barber. It's a barber/dentist/florist. It's all that's what you have to do in the country.
Now that's a haircut you can set your watch to.
Yeah.
Fletcher Sharp.
Fletcher Sharps.
Put him at
Around
5'8".
the clock.
But
Look,
just give us 17 Fletcher Sharps win the comp.
he certainly is an exciting player, and it's going to be good to see him again against Parramatta. And hopefully continue up this excitement, or we'll keep him for a couple of games. Then Super League might want to sign him, and then we'll have a brand new fullback come through.
That's it. Who's next?
Oh,
But I tell you now, and it concerns me with all these incredible young, exciting fullbacks coming into my one concern. I don't think I'm going to make the Newcastle Knights. I've been holding out hope.
Yes.
As a fullback myself, quite an accomplished fullback.
Yeah.
I thought, one day it's going to happen. AOB calls all the time, but he still hasn't asked. I said one day he's going to make that phone call to me, and I'll say, "Hello, Adam. How are you?"
And you
he'll
say,
"Liam, it's your time."
and you say, "What took you so long?"
Yeah, what took you so long? I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, it might be in the twilight years of possibility. But hey, even Ryan Stig made a comeback to reserve grade for the Knights, and he wrote some
Ryan
horrible things at
Stig.
one stage.
Yeah, he did. Didn't he? He was a massive homophobe. Wasn't
Yeah. I
Because of
believe
his
it was-
Christian beliefs.
I believe that was the
That great Christian tradition
of being a homophobe. Yeah. If you like us all non-homophobes, if anything,
Prophobe. Pro-homo.
Pro-homo.
Yeah.
It's certainly centre left. If you like us, you can find us on SoundCloud, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok,
Apple Tunes.
Apple Tunes, and Spotify.
Yes, Spotify. There's that one tucked away there on the right on those AI pipes that don't seem to lead anywhere.
Social pipes, all those social pipes. We're hoping to see you again next week, and we'll be talking even more Origin, where Dylan Edwards will be getting injured.
All Origin, all the time, for the rest of our lives.
Yeah, we're going to be after Origin. I don't know. We'll be talking about it. We'll be talking to you too. They're on camera.
And we'll be watching it at the Wickham Park Hotel.
And we're watching it all at the Wickham Park Hotel. We hope to see you there, guys, and hopefully we'll see you next week.